video, we had the chance to hear some more information about the Winton Woods levy, answer some questions, get some of the background, and so we have to talk about that. The Winton Woods Superintendent, Anthony Smith. We have Priscilla Franklin from the community, also co-chair of the levy committee. And we have Board of Education member Brandon Smith, also Winton Woods graduate.
That's correct.
And drumline instructor.
That is correct.
So all kinds of things. All of you are connected in all kinds of ways. And right now, you're here because you have information. You can help us understand what's going on with the Winton Woods levy. And Mr. Smith, let's start with, can you just introduce us to what we're looking at with this operational levy?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'm really excited because we're starting to receive calls from the community saying things like, how do we get involved? Which is totally different than what it was before. How do we get engaged? They were able to see my segment on State of the Schools, and we gave them facts about honors diploma. We gave them facts about needing more SROs. We gave them facts about how we want to help our children with mental health issues and some of the other medical things that young people experience growing up. And I think the final one is how we're expanding our preschool village and our preschool opportunities. So we don't want young people to be on a waiting list.
So those are the key priorities that we're looking at. And it's good that we were able to cover those right at the beginning. And that's where the levy comes in, because a lot of these are plain operational issues.
Yes.
Tell me why the levy is needed to make these things happen.
Well, when you start something and it works for young people, you want to be able to sustain it. And we want to be able to sustain our band, our choir, our teams, our athletics, the fine arts, all of those pieces. And when you start making cuts, and people are always asking superintendent what's going to be cut, people start making a decision because they don't want their kids to be in a situation where they're losing opportunities and losing some of the important factors that get them to higher ed. So all these things are very, very important. But of course, more than anything else, we talk about safety in the community. We have one school resource officer for the entire district. That's not enough. And we want to make sure that kids know that, and adults, coming into our buildings, you're safe from the outside and inside. And having more SROs and more school officials that will help with that opportunity kind of makes it just really, really solid. I want to be comfortable in my classroom. I want to be comfortable in my environment. I want to like my school. I want to be able to attend events without having any issues whatsoever. And we know that the world is changing, and so we have to protect our investment, and our young people are our investment.
So one question I hear a lot from the public is, gee, didn't I see a levy when they made those new schools? And Priscilla, can you explain to me the difference? Because there was a levy, but it's not an operational levy. How are they different?
Oh, actually, that one is, I think, easy to understand. One is operational. One is the finances you need to pay your teachers, the finances you need to keep the lights on, the finances you need to provide lunch in the buildings, the things you need just to keep the school running. When we passed the bond levy, and use that word, bond levy, we were dealing with buildings that were 40 to 60 years old, too old to try to bring them up to standards. It was time to build new buildings. So we had a bond levy, which gave us finances to build modern buildings, handicap accessible buildings, things that would last us now, hopefully for another 50 years, possibly. But the thing is, that was to build the buildings only. And that's the difference. Now that we have new buildings, we have to have finances to keep them running, to keep teachers there, to provide all the things Mrs. Smith is saying that needs to be done for our students. So one is to build the building, the other is to do all of the things that our educational processing needs to do.
And I've checked my time frame. I will be around the next 50 to see how these buildings turn out.
Okay.
I plan to.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is really important to talk about that difference, though, that that bond levy, the one that built the buildings, you weren't allowed to do that, do anything with that except build the buildings.
Right.
And guess what? New buildings still need electricity. They still need paid teachers in them. They still need lunches in the beautiful lunch arrangement, but there's no food in it, and there's no people cooking the food in it unless you have operating budget. Okay. The other question folks have is they wonder about, so where does school funding come from? And how does that fit in with needing the levy to help operate? So can you talk a little bit about the school funding system in Ohio?
Yeah, well, the school funding system has been deemed unconstitutional in Ohio forever. And they talk about the fair funding formula, which is the formula never works. And so every school district has to go out and try to get additional funds. It's just part of our work, it's part of our mission. The state of Ohio there have been all kind of lawsuits filed about unconstitutional funding of schools, and it's going to continue. But we can't wait to see if the state is going to fund us differently. We have to make sure we keep all of our programs intact and make sure that all of our kids are getting the best services possible. So we hit the streets in order to make it work.
So that makes me want to ask you, Brendan, you graduated as a student. Mm-hmm. You're back to be on the Board of Education. Mm-hmm. You're back to work with students that are there now in the drumline. Talk about your experience in this district and these programs and how important it is to not just have reading, writing, and arithmetic, but all these other programs.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a proud graduate of 2002. I have a twin sister. She graduated as well. And I have a younger brother who graduated. My entire family went through. And little known fact, my mother was a graduate of Forest Park before it became Winton Woods. Wow. So we have long history in this district. And I believe that this district gave me the launch into the future that I have today. So from everything from scholarships to go to a four-year college to get a degree. That degree then lended me a well-paying job right here in Cincinnati. I was able to purchase a house right in Forest Park. I mean, everything started from the foundation I received from this district. So I am a firm believer that this district is a district of success. And so I believe in the product, so I'm going to support the product. I don't have any kids. I don't have any kids in this district, but I support this levy and I support this district wholeheartedly because I believe we need to invest in our future. Somebody invested in me so that I could get this opportunity and get to this point. So I believe in paying it forward. I am going to invest in our children because our children are our future. And without a future, we're going to be in trouble. And so that's all I tell people. You know, I understand where you're coming from. I don't have any kids, but I'm still going to vote to support the levy because I support our future and I believe in the product that Winton Woods is putting out.
And there are people in the community that feel like, well, my kid goes to another school, or I don't have kids, or my kids are grown. Talk to them about what kind of value they get out of a successful school district.
Absolutely. Me and Mr. Smith have this conversation all the time. I mean, the number one thing is your property value goes up. I mean, that's just it. So whether you have a student here, whether you have a student that goes to a private school, whether you don't have a student here, your property value is going to go up. That's the number one thing. But over and beyond the property value, the money value, there is a personal value that you'll get from the community growing and expanding. You know, as we invest in our kids, as we invest in our future, that investment is going to come back into this community some way, shape, form, or fashion. You know how I know? Because I'm back in this community. So I can say from experience that if you invest in this community, in your community, it's going to come back to you. Now, yes, to a certain extent, we're all going through some financial troubles. That's just the way the climate is. But it's not just you, it's your community. And we as a community have to stand strong and say, we're going to support our kids, we're going to support our youth. So maybe you have to make a sacrifice. Every now and then you may have to sacrifice that cheeseburger. You may have to sacrifice that Starbucks because all those prices are going up. I tell you, I go to Wendy's, I go to Starbucks, I can tell you the prices are going up. So what's a small sacrifice of a hamburger or a McFlurry or an ice cream when the machine is working? when you can look at a child and watch that child go and grow and become a future leader of America.
And, you know, actually, you're talking about the prices going up at Wendy's and all the places. We're talking about operating things. We talked about got to buy electricity, got to buy food for the cafeteria. with these price changes, is that affecting your budgeting just for your own needs at the school?
Oh, absolutely, because we don't even know the price of fuel now, heating fuel, electricity, because it changes. So we have to make sure that we have enough resources. We can't tell the public we're going to close school today because we don't have enough fuel. We don't have we didn't pay the electric bill. So that's not even an option because people look at that as mismanagement of funds. But one thing that Brandon said that I have watched very, very carefully. We've seen parents make the decision to move their kids into a different educational setting, be it private, parochial, whatever the case may be. But I can tell you, what really is very, very astounding is our kids meet your kids in the same college. They meet them in the same college. So you paid that tuition up front, that's fine. But they've met them in the same, because if you're dedicated to the product the same way that we are, we're going to push your child so that they get the best resources and the best opportunities. But I'm going to say this again. Our children meet your children in the same seats in the same universities.
Yep, that pretty much says
Yes,
says what
yes.
we're saying, taking a longer time to say. But I wanted to ask you about this past year. You had more honors diplomas.
Yes.
How is it tied to your ability to provide students with the opportunities to have the classes?
So there are a lot of districts in our region, and I think they all have great kids. I am a kid advocate no matter where your child goes. But I think the real important part is you have to offer very rigorous classes in order to meet the standards for an honors diploma. If you're offering just the basic classes because that's all you can afford, you'll have children that are very, very bright, very capable. They will never earn an honors diploma because you are not opening it for the class. So the state rates you based on how many particular classes that meet the honors criteria. If you don't offer the classes, the kids can't take the classes. So that's why we are absolutely certain that people need to really look at us from a different perspective, because we're actually offering kids high-level classes that earn them an honors diploma. And the other part, when we talk about the honors diploma, that's not a Winton Woods honors diploma. It's state recognized. All the kids in the state have to follow that same criteria. So if you would ever go and do the marginal work, and we've done it, districts that offer high-level classes have more honors diploma kids than others.
I mean, they just have access.
Yes, they do.
And continue on. And those honors kids get the scholarships.
There you go.
That's the bottom line.
There you go.
Yes.
Well, and that increases
There-
their access. So
Absolutely.
this is really
Exactly.
about
Right.
continuing to make that accessible.
Yes.
And we started out with 5, and now right now we're at 62, and we're predicting 70 plus
That's it.
for next year.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yes.
I mean, that's 5 to 62 and more this year.
Yeah.
That's a huge jump.
Yes.
And that's the
And we
availability.
want that for our public school. This is our neighborhood public school. Right, as you said, they're not paying extra tuition to get this.
No.
They're getting this
No,
in.
they're not.
Right, in
Right.
their neighborhood public school that will open up doors for them in colleges all over the country.
Correct.
So I want to ask, because we've seen this levy on the ballot before. We know what it's for now. We know it's for operating. We know it's to make sure we can keep these fantastic programs. What are some things that you feel like maybe the voters don't know about it, that they really need to know before they go to the ballot this time?
I think one thing, and the first thing I really want to mention is to piggyback off of her comment in terms of the difference levies. And this is something that we haven't mentioned. Mr. Smith, when was the last time we passed an operating levy?
2009.
2009. So that means we are operating with the exact same budget structure from 2009. Now, if anyone can tell me that they are operating on the same budget, that means you're making the same amount of money you were in 2009, please go to the Winton Woods website, email me personally, because I want to know how you did it,
Yes.
because it's not possible.
Right.
We're always asking for raises. It's just an increase.
And it will be
Cost of
13
life
years
increase.
by the
Yes.
time we collect on it. It'll be 13 years going into 14.
So for 13 years as a district, we have been managing our funds and managing our finances, trying to give the best possible experience to our kids. And we're at a point now where we have maximized our capabilities with our current budget. And so we are trying to continue to maximize, but as anybody would know, the budget has to match what you're trying to offer. And so all we're asking is for our community to understand that we are trying our hardest to maximize the experience for each and every one of our kids going through there. And what we need from you is the funding to make it happen.
And if you look at the grade distribution, you're talking what you just described was a young person in kindergarten, and we don't have new money until they get into ninth grade. Mm-hmm. That's mathematically a disaster.
You said it perfectly. How could any of us live without a raise since 2009?
Doesn't fit.
We would not be able to make it
I mean,
today.
that sounds like it could work if you could get all of your expenses to stay the same.
Yes.
Well,
And if we do
which
know
of
that,
us are
please
paying
let
the
us
same
know.
Right.
amount for
Please
gas
email
today
me,
that we
right.
were paid in 2009?
Yeah, I don't know the last time I made a suit, but I guess you could.
Yeah, it's fine. Now, I feel like there's so many more details that we can talk about. And honestly, when it comes to talking about the programs and the students, we could talk about that. And we do in so many programs. So we'll save some of those. But if people want more information, or if people want to join the team and help let people know about it, because you can't personally talk to everybody, there is an email address that folks can use. I'm going to say warriorsbondtogether@gmail.com. So if you have more questions that we haven't covered, and I'm sure you do because we just kind of hit the basics, but also if you want to be part of a team that helps let other people know the information about this, then send an email to warriorsbondtogether@gmail.com. Is there anything else you want folks to know?
And if you decided to connect with Warriors Bond Together and you say Superintendent, Ms. Franklin, Brandon Smith, we need more information. Are there small groups that we can gather in and have coffees, teas, breakfast, lunch? We will come out and give you the information. This is not about the emotional part of life. We will give you facts. We're only going to talk about facts. So there are people out there that have a lot to say, but their information is not factual. We're giving you facts about what this money can do to support young people for many years to come.
That's really important because we didn't go through the charts. It's kind of hard to do that verbally.
Yes.
But send an email to that address if you say, you know what, there's a whole group of us and we have questions. I wish we could set up an information session,
We can
a
do
one-on-one.
that. We can do that.
Yes.
So just so that you know, they're available. You're available to us in the studio right now, so I really appreciate that. That will help. But also, all those questions that we didn't get to, if your group is interested in that, please use that address and make a connection. Well, I want to thank you for coming into the studio. I'm really looking forward to being able to share this. I know this will help a lot of people understand a little bit more about that when they go and they have boxes to check. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Yes.
See you putting in effort.